Alex and I have been in a relationship for 5 years, and we have been living together for 5 years as well. Just because he once said, "Emily, I love you. We will get married when my brother is discharged from the hospital." For the past 5 years, I have foolishly taken care of his daily life as well as his paraplegic brother. On my 25th birthday, I received a WeChat friend request from someone who claimed to be Alex's girlfriend. At this moment, I realized that I was not taking care of Alex's brother at all, but rather his son. I questioned Alex in disbelief about why he deceived me, and he laughed as he said, "If I tell you the truth, would you still take care of him?" Later, I fell in love with someone else, but he kept bothering me, begging for my forgiveness. In the familiar hospital ward, a seductive woman stood with her back to the door, softly saying to Tommy on the bed, "Tommy, get well soon. That way, our little family can be together forever." The woman's name is Susan, and she is a well-known translator in the country, fluent in 8 languages. She is also my boyfriend Alex's real girlfriend. At this moment, Alex was completely different from his usual indifference. His eyes revealed tenderness, especially when he looked at Susan. That kind of softness was something I had never seen before. "Yes, Tommy, be a good boy and get treated. Don't make your mom angry. Tommy doesn't seem to be as cold to me today as he usually is." Perhaps it was because his biological mother was there. He seemed particularly excited and chatted eagerly with Susan, sharing amusing stories from the hospital. The warm scene of that family of 3 was truly eye-catching. I bit my lower lip tightly, trying hard not to make a sound. Today is my 25th birthday, and it is also the 5th anniversary of my relationship with Alex. I happily reserved the best restaurant and arranged today's date. However, when I woke up in the morning, I received a friend request that said, "Hello, I am Susan, Alex's girlfriend and Tommy's mother. I'm back and I hope you can stay away from them." I am a bit confused, quickly recalling every name in my mind, yet I still can't remember who Susan is. Moreover, I am clearly Alex's girlfriend, and Tommy is Alex's younger brother. How could he possibly be his son? I thought this was just some kind of prank. After all, Alex is quite prestigious in the financial industry, and he is highly respected in the market. People are privately speculating about which socialite might catch his attention. I never expected that his public girlfriend is actually a university student who hasn't even graduated yet. I stood next to Alex, becoming the center of attention. Because Tommy is sick, and as Alex's girlfriend, I naturally need to take care of him. Everyone is waiting to see how I pack my bags and leave, eager to witness Alex's joke. However, I chose to stand firm, but I also encountered a lot of pranks from wealthy young masters, all of which I endured one by one. I deeply love Alex, so much that I can't escape it. At my most embarrassing and helpless moment, he walked through the crowd towards me and said firmly, "I'll count to 3. If you're less than 2 meters away from her, I will have the school expel you immediately." He is like a beam of light that brightens my world. Everyone knows Alex. He is the eldest son of the Thompson family and a prominent figure at school. He just gave a speech on the podium, and the members of the board showed their support. My classmates unconsciously stepped back several hundred meters. I can finally breathe the fresh air comfortably. I didn't dare to look up. I kept my head down, trembling as I used my hand to cover my cheek. I have an extremely unsightly scar on my face, a burn inflicted by my biological father using a pair of tongs, simply because I am a girl. Suddenly, something flew into my arms. Alex took off his baseball cap and threw it to me. I put on the hat, and the brim helped to shield me from some of the light. At this moment, I finally lifted my head. He is like the brilliant stars in the sky, while I am just the mud on the ground. "Go back." I nodded and quickly ran away. I don't know how Alex handled this matter, but since that day, I have never been watched because of the scars on my face again. I studied hard and eventually got accepted into university. In school, I performed exceptionally well, and the teachers all liked me very much. So, I got to meet Alex as I had hoped, and our relationship has grown closer. I thought my thoughts would not be revealed. However, in my sophomore year, Alex came to me and said, "Emily, I like you. Let's be together." At that moment, an endless joy surged from the depths of my heart. I still didn't pay much attention this time. Not long after, he sent a friend request again. "If you don't believe it, you can come to the hospital to see for yourself. I went to visit my son today." I felt a rush of panic and immediately called Alex, but there was no answer. I pressed my lips tightly together, not even stopping to eat lunch, and hurried to the hospital. I didn't expect to see such a scene. "Mom, Tommy wants to be with you you and Dad all the time. Tommy's words pierced me like a needle. I could no longer hold back. I pushed the door open and walked in. Alex, give me an explanation. The three people in the room were all stunned. Tommy, who once longed for a bright future, sneered when he saw me and said, "Tisk, how foolish. Tommy is 12 years old this year. He has some mental health issues and a tendency toward violence. Once he loses his temper, no one can stand it." Even though Alex spent a lot of money hiring a caregiver to take care of him, he always found a way to get rid of them. Alex is busy with work, and he knows that I have fewer classes in my sophomore year, so he asked me to take care of Tommy. I agreed because he once said, "Emily, I love you. Once my brother is discharged from the hospital, we will get married." I was filled with excitement as I took care of Tommy day and night. However, Tommy always acted indifferent towards me, either being sarcastic or insulting me. My fingers trembled slightly. "You all need to explain to me clearly. Who is this woman? Are you father and son?" Alex's expression darkened instantly as he shouted at me angrily, "Emily, what are you making a fuss about? She is my friend. She just looks like my mom." Tommy mistook her for someone else. Did I really identify the wrong person? But Tommy and Susan's eyes are just exactly the same. Susan smiled slightly, her eyebrows curving as she explained, "Yes, you misunderstood, sister." I looked at Susan, her eyes full of interest. Just as I was about to speak, Alex coldly questioned me, "Emily, why are you at the hospital when you should be at home preparing lunch?" I felt a blockage in my heart as I clenched my fists, forcing myself not to cry. "Alex, explain clearly. Are you and Tommy really father and son? Is this woman your girlfriend?" "Emily, stop talking nonsense and get out of here right now." I don't understand how I left the hospital. By the time I realized it, I had already returned to a home that didn't belong to me, feeling listless. At noon, Alex called me in a panic, his tone filled with anxiety. "Emily, where are you? Why didn't you come to the hospital? It's already 12 o'clock. Tommy should have his meal. If he doesn't eat, he will get upset. Don't you know that? I see you as my future partner, so how could you treat Tommy this way?" I looked at the carefully prepared gift in front of me, feeling a bit teary-eyed. "Emily, come to the hospital right away to feed Tommy." I couldn't help but laugh and said sarcastically, "Doesn't he have hands? Why can't you eat by yourself? If he really has no hands, then what about you? Can't you just feed him?" After I finished speaking, I hung up the phone and unexpectedly felt a sense of relief in my heart. Alex called again, and I continued to hang up. After several calls, he seemed to realize that I didn't want to answer and finally fell silent. But shortly after, he called me from a different number, saying, "Emily, hurry over. Tommy is throwing a tantrum." On the phone, there were not only Alex's voice but also Tommy's angry shouts, accompanied by the sound of something crashing, as if something had been broken. "Alex, come here quickly. I've been harassed by a client." Hearing Susan's voice, the anxiety on Alex's face was something I had never seen before. "Where is she? Wait for me. I'll be there soon." He hurriedly grabbed his coat and walked towards the door, while also reminding me, "Emily, you stay at home and behave. I'll explain everything to you when I get back." What is there to explain? Is it about a hero saving a beauty? I felt an unusual calmness inside as I began to pack my things and prepare for the move. Fortunately, while taking care of Tommy, I did not neglect my professional studies. I love languages and enjoy translation. Converting different languages into Chinese gives me an inexpressible sense of accomplishment. Although Alex doesn't allow me to work and asks me to focus on taking care of Tommy at home, I secretly took on many translation jobs. The payment for articles is quite substantial. Over the past 5 years, I've accumulated a considerable amount of savings, enough for me to rent an apartment. I dragged my luggage around all day and finally managed to find a place to stay, then quickly send out my resume. I just want to focus on developing my career now and shine in the workplace. I have to rely on myself to make a living. "Emily, where are you? Why don't you go to the hospital?" Alex called me using another new phone. The hospital, all day long, just the hospital. "You really think I'm your family's maid, always busy taking care of all of you." I felt a surge of anger inside. What do you care about what I do? Your son has a mother, so let her take care of him. After I finished speaking, I immediately hung up the phone. Although I felt a bit uneasy, I still decided to change my phone number without hesitation before the interview tomorrow. My resume is impressive and I am proficient in multiple languages. In addition to Mandarin, I also speak Persian, Vietnamese, Sinhala, Hungarian, Serbian, and other less commonly spoken languages, and I have even received certificates and awards for my skills. Sure enough, not long after, that afternoon I received the job offer. My supervisor is named Henry, and he always wears a smile. I heard that he is a playboy, moving through a sea of flowers but never getting involved. Emily, sweetheart, please go with me to meet the client tomorrow. I just started my job. This task shouldn't be my responsibility. However, I have previously taken orders from the other company and have some understanding of their business operations. Let me take care of it. It's just right. I nodded in agreement. This is my first assignment abroad, and I don't want to make any mistakes, so I've been working late at the company. By the time I got home, it was already midnight. The light in the corridor is broken, so I have to use a flashlight for illumination. Just as I reached my front door, I saw a figure standing there. I felt a tightness in my chest. It was precisely because the security facilities in this community are very strict that I chose to live here. It's only the second night here, and a suspicious person has already appeared at the door. I quietly called the police. The man suddenly walked toward me, and I instinctively turned off the flashlight. If you dare to come near me, I'll call the police. Hello, I'm your neighbor across the hallway. I forgot my keys, and my phone is dead. Could you help me contact the property management? I'm too lazy to go down. Hearing that familiar voice, I let out a breath of relief. It was none other than Henry, my boss. Our community has 2 units on each floor, directly facing each other. I turned on the flashlight and shone it around. Oh, Emily, sweetheart, you live here too? Henry saw me and was surprised. 110? What's going on? Do I have to meet the police officer just after becoming neighbors? My phone screen is still on the call dialing interface. I awkwardly deleted it. No, I thought it was. Huh? What is it? At that moment, Henry suddenly leaned closer to me. His distance has exceeded the normal social range, and I instinctively pulled my neck in. Although Alex and I have been in a relationship for 5 years, he rarely shows me affection. He only hugs me when he's drunk, and it's just a brief embrace. It's hard to believe, but we hardly ever hold hands. It's nothing. I was just calling the property management. I shifted to the side. When I was on the phone, I noticed the smile at the corner of Henry's mouth, and my face instantly turned bright red. After finishing the call, I hurried back home. The next day, Henry and I went on a business outing to a high-end restaurant. I was surprised to run into an acquaintance as soon as I entered the restaurant. Hey, Alex, isn't that Emily? Susan and Alex sat together, appearing very close and leaning in towards each other. I don't want to get involved with those scumbags, so I'm planning to pull Henry to the other side. However, Henry suddenly had a spur of the moment and gently tapped my arm, saying, Emily, sweetie, I'm calling you. It seems she left the villa because she got a boyfriend. Susan had a smile at the corners of her mouth, looking quite pleased. It seems we really shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I suddenly felt incredibly angry. That's right, I have scars on my face, and I'm not exactly good looking, but what does that have to do with you? Miss Susan is right. No matter how good looking you are, your boyfriend may still leave. I couldn't help but retaliate. No matter how beautiful you are, Alex still stayed by my side for 5 years. Thinking of this, my expression felt as uncomfortable as if I had eaten something bitter. Susan was taken aback by my words, and her expression instantly changed to one of discomfort. Alex protected his princess like a knight, and with a cold expression, he said to me, Emily, it's a fact that you're ugly. What's wrong with Susan saying a few things about you? And who are you? When do you plan to come back? It seems that Alex still cares about the scar on my face. To love someone can truly allow for such a genuine performance. I once asked Alex, my scar can't be erased. Do you really not mind? How did he respond at that time? He gently strode my face and said firmly, I don't mind. How could I care about others' beauty or ugliness? But what about now? I couldn't help but laugh. Before I had a chance to mock him, Henry excitedly cut in and said, I'm Emily's little sweetheart's boyfriend. Henry gave me a look, and I immediately understood. I nodded. That's right. I could clearly see that Alex's expression had darkened. I can't help but sneer. Alex, we've already broken up. Are you really jealous of your ex-girlfriend like this? Won't your current girlfriend feel upset? Alex frowned frowned and explained, regarding Susan and Tommy, I admit I shouldn't have kept it from you, but I also wanted to give us a chance. You should know that the person I love has always been you. After Tommy is discharged from the hospital, we will get married. Again, it's this sentence, which makes me feel nauseous. Alex, you really have some nerve. The biological mother of your son is still in front of you, and you actually dare to say such things. It's really disgusting. Are you planning to have multiple wives? Wait to be taken in. And you, Miss Susan, what was your reaction to what your boyfriend said? Oh, it turns out that Miss Susan is also a feudal woman from ancient times. It really opens my eyes. I rolled my eyes and tried to pull Henry away, but just then the client arrived. Henry was ready to go for the meeting with his briefcase, but unexpectedly, Susan tidied her hair and stepped ahead to greet the client first. Henry and I both saw confusion in each other's eyes. Hello, Mr. Lee, I'm Susan. Here is my business card. I heard that you would be coming today, so I came here to wait for you in advance. There was a hint of pride in her tone. Henry's expression darkened as he quickly stepped forward to engage in conversation with Mr. Lee. The back and forth between him and Susan gradually grew tense. Just as Mr. Lee appeared to be somewhat impatient, Alex stood up and said, Mr. Lee, hello, I am Alex Thompson. Upon seeing Alex, Mr. Lee's face immediately lit up with a smile. Ah, Thompson, long time no see. However, Alex did not intend to engage in small talk with Mr. Lee. He directly said, Mr. Lee, here's the thing, I am Susan's boyfriend. If your company is willing to collaborate with Susan, we at the Thompson Group will provide our full support. Henry's expression grew increasingly somber. I heard that he has been negotiating cooperation with other companies and has never encountered a situation where the talks did not reach an agreement. At this moment, Mr. Lee smiled upon hearing Alex's words and nodded repeatedly. Is that so? That's really great. Mr. Lee. I quickly interjected and interrupted him loudly. I ignored the others present and said to Mr. Lee with a smile, Mr. Lee, I am Emily He. Recently, I took over a project from your company, responsible for publishing books related to Sri Lanka. Emily what? President Lee softly repeated. A glimmer suddenly flashed in his eyes. Oh, Emily, it's you. Seeing that Mr. Lee recognized me, I nodded. At the same time, Alex and Susan's expressions immediately became serious. President Lee, what brings you here? Susan's gaze shifted back and forth between me and Mr. Lee. I ignored Susan's words and continued, Mr. Lee, if your company collaborates with us, I will be responsible for all relevant translation work for your company. Mr. Lee is aware of my professional level, but I couldn't help but glance at Susan and smile. As for the other people's proficiency in Sinhalese, I hope Mr. Lee can take that into serious consideration before making a decision. Other companies may invest funds that could help with recent projects, but what happens after this project is over? I'm really sorry, but Susan loves to show off too much. There's a lot of information to be found from her social circle. For example, Susan's understanding of Sinhala is just superficial. Emily, don't trust her. She hasn't worked for 5 years. She has been taking care of the children at home. What skills could she possibly have? I also have a professional certificate and have spent a year in Sri Lanka. Susan interrupted. Henry also said, there should be a dedicated interpreter when we go to Sri Lanka, right? Mr. Lee, I still want to say that if your company collaborates with Susan, the Thompson Group will fully support you. Alex looked at me, a hint of coldness in his eyes. Mr. Lee, I must confess, Emily is my ex-girlfriend. Our breakup was not amicable, and she holds a grudge. She wants to sabotage my collaboration. Hearing Alex's remarks, I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't respond and directly took out all the relevant materials I had prepared last night. Mr. Lee, this is the recent revenue from various businesses after our collaboration with your company. Please take a look and then decide whether to work with us. My translation is done very well. The sales of published books are consistently high and stable every year. The online translation with foreign friends has also received a 5-star rating. As long as it is a project I am in charge of, there will be no loss. Alternatively, Mr. Lee, you could have Miss Susan translate a passage in Sinhalese on the spot. If that's possible, our company is willing to withdraw, and we sincerely hope Mr. Lee will reconsider. After leaving the restaurant, I fell silent, but it was Henry who started gossiping about me. I was filled with anger, so I decided to lay everything out about that pair of scumbags and their mistress. Henry couldn't help but curl his lips in disdain. Well, you really are quite unlucky. Roll your eyes and feel it for yourself. General Manager Lee Lee is still considering, but it is very likely that he will cooperate with our company. The reason is not only that Susan's professional level is not strong enough, but also that Alex's company has very little business cooperation with General Manager Lee. In the long run, no businessman will choose Susan. Before the end of work, Mr. Lee finally replied to me. After he finished discussing the main topic, he couldn't help but start complaining. Miss Emily, you really have no idea how ridiculous Susan's translations are. They are completely off the mark. As for Thompson, I am truly at a loss for words. I'll tell you a secret, but don't tell anyone else, okay? Thompson and Susan, after seeing the materials you prepared, couldn't believe that this was a project you were involved in, and it kept me wide-eyed. I said we have been working together for a long time, and I even showed them the content you translated. Guess what they said? They said, it's fake, isn't it? It must be a translation. Mr. Lee spoke a lot, and I just took it as entertainment, which finally relieved my boredom from the whole day. But this happiness lasted only one evening, as Alex approached my company. Emily, how long are you going to keep this up? You gave the project to Susan, so hurry home with me. Tommy really needs you right now. Alex went straight to my workstation, completely disregarding everyone else in the office. Many people around were raising their ears, eager to listen to this gossip. Thompson, as the president, we signed the contract yesterday. You should understand that once the contract is signed, we cannot switch companies, right? I leaned back in the chair and couldn't help but laugh at the scratches on Alex's face. Also, since your Tommy has a biological mom, why not let her take care of him? Tommy has always been taken care of by you and has the deepest bond with you. Alex frowned and said, if you have any issue with Susan, I won't let her appear in front of you in the future. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, and I was very happy while doing so. When I had laughed enough, I began to expose his secrets. Alex, where do you get the nerve? When I was in college, you deceived me by saying you liked me and wanted to be with me. You also lied that Tommy was your younger brother, making me take care of him day and night. In fact, Tommy is your biological son. Your real mother, Susan, ran away and no one is taking care of him, so you set your sights on me, right? Now that your biological mother is back, why aren't you looking for her to take care of you? Instead, why are you looking for me? Do you want me to continue taking care of the brother you mentioned? Many people in the company know that I am Alex's girlfriend, and there are quite a few discussions about me behind my back. This time, I decided to take the opportunity to clarify things and show everyone what kind of person Alex really is. It's really shameless to want to invite a nanny to take care of his son for free. In the office, whispers spread, and Alex's expression began to turn a bit ugly. At that moment, Henry came in with the security guard. Thompson, we have no partnership with you. We are not connected in any way. In the future, please contact our boss directly if you have any matters to discuss. The documents in our office are all confidential, so it's best to be careful. Otherwise, we might have to sue you for stealing trade secrets. Henry smiled as he leaned against the doorframe. I couldn't help but laugh. Henry dares to say anything. How could a company president be so irrational as to run to another employee's office to steal trade secrets? Emily, is this your support? Under Alex's piercing gaze, I nodded. However, not long after, Alex unexpectedly punched Henry in the face. I was completely taken by surprise as Henry got into a scuffle with Alex, and the security guard beside them was unable to intervene at all. In the end, it is unclear who called the police, and both of them were taken to the police station. I feel very confused about this. I couldn't stand him, so I took action. What's wrong with that? Alex said to Henry indifferently. I was instantly filled with rage and slapped Alex hard. Alex Thompson, what's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? Do you want to get hit? Alex's face was distorted from the blow, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Don't be angry. This is the police station. Henry pulled me to the side. I took a deep breath, decided not to pay any more attention to them, and after posting bail, I left with Henry. When I arrived, I was in a police car, and I had no choice but to call a taxi with my phone. At the entrance of the police station, I saw a group of wealthy young men gathered around Alex, bailing him out and asking about his well-being. A gossip-loving young man asked, "Have you really broken up with Emily? Is that Henry really her boyfriend?" After a while, I finally heard Alex's reply. They didn't break up. She was just throwing a tantrum and deliberately using Henry to provoke me. I couldn't help but spat at him before getting into the car. Alex Thompson, we broke up a long time ago, completely. I just realized now that you are really a scumbag. It's terrible. Until I couldn't see Alex anymore, I still felt a flicker of anger inside me, especially when I saw the bruise on Henry's face, which brought a pang of pain to my heart. Master, let's go to the hospital. What? Are you feeling sorry for me? Henry was like a jellyfish, lying on my shoulder, and no matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't make him budge. Later, I simply stopped pushing him and let him do as he pleased. You're overthinking it. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gotten beaten up, and I'd never take you to the hospital no matter what. All right, Henry replied to me indifferently, his fingers gently brushing against the scar on my cheek, which felt slightly itchy. Although Henry's wound looks a bit frightening, it's actually not serious. The doctor just applied some ointment, and he can be discharged. Henry went to the window to get the medicine while I sat on the chair waiting for him. At that moment, a nurse suddenly walked over. Hey, sis, are you free? Can you help me with something? She seemed a bit nervous, and I found her face somewhat familiar. When Tommy was sick before, it seemed that she was taking care of him nearby, and as a result, she accidentally got her leg scratched, which took a while to heal. She probably knows about what happened between us. Her eyes were slightly red, as if she was deep in thought. Sister, I know you feel wronged. That family is truly shameless. However, you haven't been around lately, and Tommy has been throwing tantrums. It's really scary. He doesn't eat, doesn't receive injections, and refuses to cooperate with treatment. Every day, several nurses have to go to his place to forcibly administer sedatives or nutritional injections to him. The nurse is not very old. She is still a college student and is currently interning at the hospital. I sighed and asked, what do you want from me? You know our situation. Why don't you go talk to his parents? The nurse's eyes turned red and tears fell involuntarily. It used to be fine, but now whenever Tommy has an episode, his mother tries to stay as far away as possible. His dad would help hold Tommy down when he was around, but he wasn't always there. Sometimes when Tommy has an episode, the nurse on duty gets hurt. No one is willing to go to Tommy's ward, and as an intern, I have no choice but to go. I am really scared. Sister, I beg you, just this once. Tommy listens to you the most, so please help me out. The nurse spoke while wiping away her tears, her voice soft. At that moment, Henry also came back and nodded at me. I helplessly said, all right, I'll go with you this time. I happen to be free today. In fact, I don't want to admit it, but I just want to go see their jokes. Walking down the familiar hallway, I could faintly hear Tommy's roar from a distance. Get out of the way. Dead woman, who told you to stand there? Tommy, I am your mother. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. I didn't expect Susan to be here as well. When I reached the door of the ward, I gently pushed it open. Inside, the two people were embroiled in a heated argument and didn't notice my entrance at all. Susan had a noticeable palm print on her face. Blood was trickling from the corner of her mouth, and her hair was a mess, making her look like a madwoman. She put her hands on her hips and shouted loudly at Tommy. Tommy, you dare to hit me? How are you so bold? Tommy sneered and picked up a vase from the windowsill, hurling it fiercely at Susan. What's wrong with me? If I dare to hit my biological father, why would I be afraid to hit my mother? With a loud bang, the vase hit Susan's stomach with precision. Susan screamed, covering her stomach with her hands, and anxiously shouted, where is the nurse? Where is the doctor? I want to see the nurse. I shook my head, thinking that I was just trying to remind them kindly. The nurse went to get the medication and would be back soon. Seeing me, Susan became even more excited, not caring about the pain in her body, and charged straight towards me, shouting, you jerk, it's all because of you. Just as Susan was about to choke me, Henry fortunately stopped her in time. At that moment, the nurse came running towards us, and I quickly stepped aside to give her space. This visit to the hospital has been truly worthwhile. It was an amazing performance. In the past, when Tommy went crazy, I got hurt quite a bit. Now Susan looks much more relaxed, definitely not comparable to the time when she was beaten to a pulp by Tommy at the beginning. Henry stopped Susan, and she couldn't move. The nurse led me forward, and as soon as I appeared, Tommy fell silent, staring at me intently without saying a word. I asked, Tommy, are you hungry? I heard that ever since I left, Tommy hasn't eaten anything. He is now as thin as a stick, and his gaze fixed intensely on me, making him even more terrifying. What are you here for? You are not welcome here. Is that so? I originally planned to go back and make sweet and sour pork for you, but now it seems I'd better not. I turned to leave, but Tommy tugged at my hem, and I couldn't help but laugh. I have taken care of Tommy for 5 years, feeding him and taking care of his daily needs. Everything has been managed by me. Although it may be a bit exaggerated, Tommy hasn't eaten eaten in a long time, so when he heard me say I was going to cook, he must have been particularly nostalgic. Just as Tommy was in a daze, the nurse quickly administered a sedative to him. I turned around and smiled at Tommy, saying, "Sorry, I was just kidding earlier. Do you want to try the food I made?" Keep dreaming. Having played enough, I was ready to pull Henry away, but Alex came in. He stood at the door, his expression serious, scanning the chaos in the room. I heard him whisper, "Emily, Tommy really needs you. Can you stay?" His voice was choked with tears, and he lowered his head, full of pleading. If it were in the past, I might have softened my heart and agreed. But now, it is absolutely impossible. Emily. Alex grabbed my arm, his Adam's apple moving up and down a few times. "Please, stay." I stopped in my tracks. For the first time, I heard this lofty paragon of heaven plead with me. Alex may not be a good boyfriend, but he is undoubtedly a good father. Just as I was about to break free, I heard Tommy's voice behind me. "Emily, I want to eat the food you cook and I want you to take care of me. I don't want to live a life dependent on tranquilizers and nutritional injections anymore. I'm begging you. It's really ridiculous." I broke free from Alex's hand and leaned on Henry's arm. "Sorry, I don't want to." I no longer looked back and walked straight away. Behind him was the silence of Alex and his father, along with Susan's angry shouts. Our cooperation with Mr. Lee has been very smooth and both parties are satisfied. Soon, Henry and I were sent to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island nation that, although it does not have distinct seasonal variations, enjoys a climate that is summer year-round. While we complete our work, we also enjoy our own world together. Later, we returned to our home country. To take care of Tommy, he gave up his job, entrusted the company to others, and devoted himself entirely to staying with Tommy in the hospital. Tommy's condition has improved somewhat, but he still has occasional episodes and even strikes others. I am pregnant, and Henry accompanied me to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. We didn't expect to run into Alex. His face is full of the marks of time, and there are many scars as well. Alex wanted to talk to me, but was stopped by Henry. It wasn't until we were discharged from the hospital that I learned they had been fighting. The reason was that Alex mistakenly thought I really liked Henry, and Tommy had also hurt him during the episode. Alex, in a fit of anger, couldn't help but lash out. "How? Were you touched by Alex?" Henry mischievously leaned close to my ear and asked. I said half-jokingly that I was so moved by you that I almost called security to come and beat you up.